Hey everybody, welcome back to Durbin's Bourbon. I'm Joe. This is a cocktail moment. There's a new cocktail that a buddy of mine told me about. Actually, he talked to you all about it when he filled in with Josh the other day. Chris, he talked about the Blackberry Bourbon Smash. So I'm going to make it for the first time ever for y'all and see how it turns out. I've watched a couple recipes. This one isn't from Chris. It is from online. I found it. It calls for about 8 blackberries. You throw them in your mixing glass. 2, 4, 6, 8. These are big puppies. About 7 or 8 mint leaves. You're going to drop them in. They called for half of a lemon, so I did a fresh squeezed lemon. Because that's the best way if you're going to make cocktails. Use fresh ingredients if you can, if they're available for you. And then 1 to 2 tablespoons of honey. I got my fancy little honey dolloper here, which is really cool, but it's going to go kind of slow. So we'll drizzle that in there and let that go. And then once you get all of this in your glass, you muddle it. You put your bourbon in there and you muddle it all together. Then you have a glass with crushed ice in it, which I have prepared ahead of time. And then we're going to top it off with some ginger beer. I think I got a fair amount of honey in there. You know what? You can never go wrong with honey. It's a natural sweetener. So we're going to go a little bit more. Make sure we got that 1 to 2 tablespoons. Because I think that's going to add a little bit of that sweetness that we're looking for, because this recipe doesn't call for any simple syrup or anything like that added. I've seen a couple and they have, but most of the ones I've watched, it did not call for any simple syrup, so we're not going to use it. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and muddle this. Actually, let's put our bourbon in here. The bourbon we're going to use, guess what? Buffalo Trace. It calls for 2 ounces of bourbon. So we're going to add 2 ounces of bourbon in here. Because it is a bourbon smash, right? So we're going to use a good, solid Kentucky bourbon that's a favorite. I'm going to muddle all that. That honey is sweet. Now when you muddle, there's a difference between muddling and crushing. The mint in there is going to be pretty fragile. So you don't want to muddle too much and release the chlorophyll and the bitter parts in that mint, like when we make our mint juleps. It's kind of a fine line of how you muddle all that together without releasing bitter components of the mint. All right, that looks pretty good. Now, we're going to pour this in to our cocktail. Looks pretty sharp. Boom. We're going to mix that up a little bit. Set that off to the side. Get our mixing spoon. Pretty crazy. Look at that. That looks good. It smells amazing. You express a little bit of mint and put that in there, along with your garnish, of course. Got to have a blackberry in there. Then we're going to top it off with some ginger beer. Oh, listen to that. Let's see how it is. I'm kind of curious. That is pretty tasty. Chris, thank you for turning me on to this recipe. I really like it. Let's go in for a second one and see. That is money right there. I would definitely make that again. And it's pretty easy. fresh ingredients. The ginger beer, I was curious if I was going to like it or not. If not, you could always use a ginger soda. I had on standby Ale 8, which is a Kentucky ginger soda. It's been around forever, so that was my standby in case this was yucky and I didn't like it. But I do like it. It's a winner. We'll just call this one the old Blackberry Bourbon Smash with Kentucky bourbon, no less. Hope you've enjoyed this cocktail moment in time. And if y'all want to make it yourself, I would recommend it. It is delicious. As always, enjoy your whiskeys and bourbons and cocktails any way you want. Cheers, everybody.